Yeah, back in Cambodia, I have a lot of memories of growing up in Cambodia in the province of Battambang. And in Battambang, I was born in a little village called Don Teo. And Don Teo is they're very famous for a lot of the music that came out of there and a lot of agriculture. So my earliest fondest memory is just being with my mom and dad. Me being, I was the oldest, so I was the firstborn. So I got to do a lot of things with my grandparents, with my aunt and uncle, helping around the house. And all these memories come from being in the farm, being in the rice paddies, working there. Every morning, going with my grandfather with the water buffalo and with our wagon with the ox, going to the farm in Kadal. That's where our rice paddy is at. And then, different seasons of the rice paddies. When there's a lot of water during the monsoon, you have a lot of fish, a lot of eels, a lot of frogs and snails and crab. And my grandfather would give me these baskets to capture or catch it. In Khmer, the eels are called Phuong. So Phuong is a delicacy. It's a freshwater eel. You can make stir fry with it. You can make soup out of it and you could ang it. So that's my fondest memories, just being with my grandfather, grandmother, and my dad and my mom, doing those things on a daily basis. There's nothing that I don't miss about it. I miss everything about it, because that's where I was born, where I was raised, and that's where all my history happened. The history for a lot of Cambodians that don't live there anymore, that are they resettle in different parts of the world, and settle in different parts of the country and the state. So there's a lot of history there, and I miss it there. I miss it dearly. I miss the vibrant culture. I miss the vibrant food. I miss the vibrant parts of Cambodia that's pretty amazing. I haven't been back, so I've been raised here in Long Beach and in the U.S. for the last 43 years, and haven't been back. All my families have been back, but for certain unforeseen reasons, circumstances, when I was younger, I couldn't go with them. But I'm definitely trying to go back this year or next year. My grandfather, he's known to make moonshine out of the palm sugar. Uh, in Cambodian, in Khmer, it's called the Knao Chu. So it's a fermented palm sugar alcoholic beverage, and he's been doing it for all his life, and will wait until he comes down from the palm sugar tree with the bamboo canister filled with all the different palm sugar liquids, and he'll let it ferment, and then he'll give me a little sip of it, and I was addicted to it because it's so good. It's a little bit sugary, but has a little bit of alcohol, and that's what I miss about him, because like last week we had a release of Battambang Lager in collaboration with Ten Mai Brewing. Ten Mai Brewing is the only brewing company here in Signal Hill, and one of the few ones that started here locally in the Long Beach area. So when Jesse he brewed Battambang Lager and he named it, it really resonated with me because it took me back. Like, I wanted to pay homage to my grandfather, and not a lot of people know that story. Some of my family member, but they're kind of young. So when they did that, it was very emotional for me, because it's a homage to my grandfather, who knew about like brewing and making his own alcoholic beverage, and to have a alcoholic beer here locally was a proud moment for me and my family. Just using the Battambang province and putting it in bright lights. And in my wildest dream, I didn't know that Battambang was going to be a national sensation with the barbecue, with the Texas Cambodian barbecue, and the province people that live there. They're really proud of it, because when they will look at Cambodian history through film, through media, through literature, they would see Phnom Penh, they would see Siem Reap, because those are the two main provinces. But for them to see Battambang, on a national stage on TV, and it keeps playing, and just me just helping, raise that bar so people can know the agricultural part of Cambodia, just like the agriculture part of the Midwest, the plains, in Texas or Oklahoma. Oh, my grandma is probably Yeah, my grandmother, my late grandma, she's probably the biggest influence in my culinary endeavors, being that she made the best numbachok. So numbachok is a noodle dish that's very synonymous to Cambodian culture and Cambodian history as our national noodle dish, versus our Cambodian Chinese influence, kateo. So numbachok is very based like on a fish base and all the organic ingredients such as dane, slakray, slakro, lemiet, you know, and then she made the best numbachok in the whole village, and she had a stall in front of our home, and then she would sell it, and everybody would always come by, and she would sell out. So that motivated me to always make the best numbachok that I can make, and every time I make it, it's because of my grandmother, how she took good care from point A to point B, to making the flour, to making the noodles, and then she would send me off to the river banks to look for ingredients, or along the fence to see what I could find to make the labao. No, I use tray bali. So so going back to that, since we touch on it, Don. So tray bali. So I know this history, and it started like with people that live on 858 and 866 California Avenue here in Long Beach before they changed it to Martin Luther King Avenue. So my stepdad and all these men that live within those two apartments. So what they did, they went to the Salton Sea, and there was abundance of tilapia and everything. So they didn't know any better. They didn't know, it's 1981, 82. They didn't know how to get a fishing license or anything. So they snuck into the Salton Sea with a net, and you're not supposed to use a net. They didn't know any regulation. So they netted all this tilapia. There was like hundreds of them. And they would bring back, man, I don't know how many, the trash cans, the Rubbermaid trash can. They filled those up. And it was on the floor of everybody's kitchen. And then they went again the second time, and that's when a couple of them, they didn't speak a lot of English, and that's when the game warden caught them. So after that, that history of what happened when they were in jail for a night, they let them go. They just give a tap on the hand. They didn't really pay any fine. So that's how the story came when you talk about the Cambodian community, about Tray Bali, because that's how they got caught, and it went viral. Like back in the days, it went from one city to another city to Stockton, and then all the way to the East Coast. So when they talk about Tray Bali, that's the original story that people don't know about. And you could ask the older people. I mean, they're much older now, like my stepdad and other men, and uncles that had to stay in jail overnight. That's because of that story.
So I didn't know about that history. So now it makes
Not
sense.
a good history, but that's the real history of Tray Bali. Well, I was too young to know a lot of the specifics and the political scene and the political changes in Cambodia during the early 70s. But my late father, who was captured and assassinated by the Khmer Rouge. So what I know is that there's a lot of different groups, different factions trying to unite Cambodia, but instead of uniting, it's a lot of false information, ideology that the Khmer Kahom stood by, and that's when the genocide happened. And during the genocide, when it happened, I remember a lot of stuff because they're very dramatic, such as going downstairs and having the Khmer Kahom, one of the generals, come downstairs with the jeep with my mom, and then she wasn't able to speak to save his life. And I remember like just crying, and my mom she lost it, knowing that my father is gone, and a lot of other people, a lot of other men. So when they're trying to capture all these educated men, like they would run into the forest, and a lot of it happens in all these small villages. The men in that village would run into the forest, hide out until it was safe, and then they would come back to their family. And my late father, he just got tired of it. I think it was his third attempt of running and hiding in the village, because he was a military police officer taking care of our village during the time, protecting people, make sure, people aren't like, infiltrating, trying to rob people or take advantage of the people.
Yeah.
So he was in charge of that. And the reason why they assassinated him, because they accused him of having guns in the attic, which he didn't have any guns in the attic. So they assassinated him. And just going through that was very horrific, and knowing those things, at a young age, that what happened to my father was probably the most life-changing experience that I ever had. I still have it now, and that's the reason when I do the things that I do. I do things the way that I want, when I want, and I complete the tasks. I protect my family, I protect my friends, and I try to protect my community. And for right or wrong, I will always try to do the right thing, because my father was one of the most influential human being in my life, besides my grandmother and my mom and my grandfather. No, most people in the rural areas such as Battambang, they're not politically active. They're just farmers making a living. They don't really care about money. Just finding whatever they could live off the land and put food on the table. There are majority of them that live on these agriculture provinces and stuff. They are not politically. Most of the political stuff would happen in the big cities such as Phnom Penh, and a lot of in the city of Battambang, in the city side in Siem Reap. So they were civil unrest because we people in the country, we were misled that Khmer Kahom, they were going to save the country. They're going to overthrow Lon Nol, who's very Americanized, and the king, because a lot of people were upset that the king deserted the country. He didn't stand up for the people. So people in the village, they didn't really trust a lot of people, because they felt everybody left them and deserted them. So they were afraid of Khmer Kahom. They were afraid of the Vietnamese, the Viet Congs, and a lot of the Thai soldier that live along the Battambang border, because Battambang is the province that's closest to the Thai border. We have the longest miles with the Thai border than any other province in Cambodia. So there was a lot of mistrust by people who are in these villages, and the people in these villages, they don't have a lot of education, modern education, but they were educated religiously through Buddhism. Yeah, the earlier violence was, of course, like what I spoke earlier, was the Khmer Kahom murdering my dad, and then after that, years went by, and then we were rationed. We couldn't pick anything. We couldn't eat anything. For me, myself, as a young boy, I would go gather cow dung or buffalo dung for Khmer Kahom. And I remember, this one time when it was raining really, really hard, and the only thing they had was just pabal. Pabal is like rice, and they would give us hard rock salt for us to eat, so to dilute the bland taste of pabal. I remember they poured it on the ground, because they didn't have any plate or anything. I would stick my mouth in the ground and try to suck up whatever pabal I could when it was raining. So that was like one of the most vivid memories of that era, what I gone through. The biggest change was my mom making the decision to walk across the border after the fall of Khmer Kahom, and the Viet Congs. Supposedly they came and liberated our country. So in '79 we made that long pilgrimage with the help of my uncles. They took us all the way to the Thai border, and there wasn't any refugee camp. It was just people, bare bone. There wasn't shelter, there wasn't water. So that was one of the most pivotal changes that we had to go through during that time, was migrating and walking on foot through landmines, to sniper fire, all the way to the Thai-Cambodian border. I think when we walked to the Thai-Cambodian border, when the way we survived, we stuck together in a large group. We gathered things together in the forest on our walk to the Thai-Cambodian border, whether it be eating little crustaceans, eating little roots of grass to stay alive or just to stay hydrated. when we walked through like a little river or something to put water, and to be quiet and stuff because they were babies and stuff. And the worst time was at nighttime because you didn't know if, like, you don't know who's who. It could be Khmer Kahom, it could be But Siem, which is Thai soldiers, or the Viet Congs, and those people would go into the jungle trying to ambush people that are trying to make their way to refuge to the Thai-Cambodian border. They would, of course, they carry some gold with them, so they get robbed, or the women would have like bad things happen, such as rape and stuff, or just being shot at. So the way that we survive is just sticking together and just walking and just being, just watching your surrounding, being careful and being vigilant, and then just walking to get there to safety to the border as fast as we could. Not support. We just stayed together as family. Like it was just myself and my mom that made it. My uncle, they all had to go back to take care of my other siblings and my grandparents at Don Teo, Batabong. So there's not a lot of healing because you really have to survive. When you're trying to survive, there's not a lot of healing. It's more survivor skills, like being rationed at the refugee camp with a card with a T number, just like it's in black and white. You get a number, just like people in a concentration camp back in Germany or other parts of the world, and just trying to survive whatever we could, whatever we're given at the Thai-Cambodian border. Yeah, just we did as refugees coming to America. We didn't get the proper assimilation like other people as refugee, because it's still a learning process for the whole world, for the UN, trying to get people from a war-torn country that people forgot about. Because when the GI and the Vietnam War stopped, they didn't want anything to do with it. They were trying to deal with stuff here in the U.S. and around the world, so they forgot a lot about us, and we weren't given the time to really like learn English. We weren't really given time to assimilate how to take the bus, or drive a car, because a lot of people that did escape, they were from the agriculture area of Cambodia. So I wish going back, like we really had like more time to study English, or to learn how to be assimilated with a job or with school, because I remember vividly when I landed here at Bradley Terminal, and when we got the I-9 before we went to the immigration in LAX. When we came here, I remember my first day was at Roosevelt Elementary School, which has been remodeled. It's in front of Long Beach Poly, and I didn't have any shoes. I still had flip-flops from the refugee camp, which I wore, and then they sent me to the lost and found to find whatever shoe I could find. So that memory, that's why when I was a teenager and when I was a young adult, like sneakers were really, really dear to me, because with sneakers I could run faster. With sneakers I'm able to participate in sports. I wasn't just in sandals, so those sneakers are very symbolic to me, like all the different shoes that I had as when I was younger. I've been raised here in America for 43 years now, and the only two places that I've lived is here in Southern California and in Texas, a little town called Hereford. It's about 60 miles from Amarillo. So those are the two places that I live. I was there for 5 years because my stepdad had a contract to work at the community hospital there, the community clinic. So I went with him, and when I went with him, there wasn't a lot of jobs out there in the Panhandle. So the highest paying job was working at the meat processing plant in Fiona, Texas. So that's when I worked for the slaughterhouse for 5 years, and I learned different parts of the operations, such as, at the beginning when they drop off the cows, to when, they humanely, took care of the cow so it could be processed. And I work at the gut table, I work at the oxtail, at the beef. I work in a lot of the different departments to process beef. But yeah, I've been here 43 years. I visit a lot of different places, a lot of different Cambodian community, but those are the only two places I ever lived for a long expended time. I think the most difficult was at the beginning, not being able to speak English, not being able to write English. And then also it took a lot longer for the kids in the class to catch up, because at a young age in our society, being that it is a third world, we knew our multiplication, our division at the age of 4 or 5 years old. So from kindergarten all the way to like third or fourth, I didn't really learn anything, and I think I speak a lot about my generation not being able to learn Khmer because there was no school during Samaya Port. There was no school, no Jerome. It was such a short time span, and when we came here to the state, there wasn't a lot of institutional Khmer classes. There, people just barely coming here to resettle. So that's some of the disadvantages and challenges that we had coming here at the beginning. But as time went on, we learned English as a second language, and then of course my generation that applied through college to city college, and we're just honest people, so we would check that English is our second language, but we didn't know the academic secondary system would ding us for that. So they saw that as like a negative thing, like you aren't able to understand the academia of the English language, so you would go back to the lowest English class. And when people went there, like they didn't really speak any. They're people that just migrated from other parts of the country or Mexico, so you had to get tested out. So that prolonged your higher education. So a lot of the people that I spoke with, that was a really difficult time because we didn't have anyone to really tell us where to go or how to register or not to check English. I'll say like, yes, it is our second language, but we are fluent in English now more than Khmer, because Khmer we couldn't read or write, but we spoke it fluently. But with English, we read, write, spoke it. So that was, I think, a difficult time for my generation.
How has the introduction of the internet impacted you or changed your family, your community, or world?
I think it impacted greatly because I was from that generation that was started with computers. So I started learning Apple computer. It was a curriculum in grade school that we had to learn the Apple programming and stuff, Pascal and all that. We played the Oregon Trail, and then after that we had DOS, so we had to learn DOS. And then after that, like myself, like 2 to 3 years, I built computers. There was like so many computers that were coming out, but I learned how to buy the CPU, buy the DIMMs and stuff from PC Club or Friars Electronic, building computer and installing an operating system, installing emulator for gaming and stuff, and installing like the internet landline is a little chip, and you put into the bus, and it has the connection for the telephone for the modem. Yeah, really slow and in infancy. So I think that changed everything. Like, because for my generation, we learned the software, and then we learned the hardware. We built it, and now we're seeing how it changed everything to software, and now it's implemented into every area of our lives. I think what was harmful was just like a lot of parents didn't let a lot of the kids participate in educational activities or athletic activities, because they wanted to keep their kids so close, because being that we came from a war-torn country, we stuck together, we did everything together, and they didn't want their kids to do after school. They didn't want their kids, like, because of post-traumatic syndrome, what if something happened? They're thinking the worst, because the worst did happen to a lot of us that are Cambodian Americans now. Right. So they didn't want us to stay after school. They want us going over to other people's homes. So those things, I think, really harmed like the 1.5 and the second generation that did try to, further their education or get tutor or join like a sports league to enhance their skill set. From my experience, I was really good in a lot of the athletic school, especially when I went to middle school. So a lot of the sports that kids grew up playing, pee-wee, football, or playing, baseball and stuff, or basketball, I picked it up really quickly. I was really good at it. And then I wanted to participate, and then I couldn't really participate fully because my parents didn't really understand. Like, instead of staying home, like, I could be with my school friends and the sports and stuff. It'll teach me other life lessons. It wasn't just a game, but to our parents, because of survival and PTSD, like they wanted us to stay close to home. They didn't really see that sport was going to help us advance, our academic or advance us of, like getting to know our friends, our fellow classmates. Yeah, I've been here a long time. Probably seen most of the early development for businesses. I could just recall like vividly like where things are still. I could point out to which building where we got our grocery. So the first place that is the mecca of all the early days of Cambodian Americans being here in Long Beach was there was a Thai store on Cherry and 10th Street right there. And people would, after the temple, after church, we would go there to get our products, such as lakre, all the different herbs. So there was one of the earliest place that we all came together. We would see each other, and that's where we shopped. It's a small, small little space.
You remember the name?
I think it was Thai. It was like a Thai store. I don't remember the name vividly, but I do remember the first Cambodian store. It was on Orange and 10th Street right there. It was on the bottom, which is across to, it's still there, but instead of groceries and stuff, they have more like culture artifacts and, boutique stuff. That's our, Cambodian stuff. And it was next to Crystal Thai. So that was the first Cambodian store.
Are we referring to Bayon?
Yeah, Bayon. Yeah, Bayon. And then after Bayon, then all these small little places popped up. Then the first Cambodian restaurant that was in Cambodia town, it was Pai Lin. It was a place you could go get your noodle soup, your kateo phnom penh and stuff. It was still, the place is still there. It's been gone through so many changes in its 40-year span. So it's on the corner of Raymond and Anaheim Street, across the street from the old UCC building and across from the new UCC building. So it's Pai Lin, which is PS Food now.
What's that?
Yeah. So after that, I lived with a family that they were the founders of New Paradise. The dad, they built a New Paradise restaurant, and then after that they made a Hat Hieng #1, and then #2, which is Udam now. So there's a Hat Hieng #1 and #2, and also there was a Batabong restaurant that was on Stanley right there, Stanley and Anaheim. There was a Batabong restaurant before all the riots. And I knew a lot, like we knew a lot of the families because a lot of the kids of the business owner, we were classmates, like in Willard, Jefferson, or Pauley, or Hoover. Like we all really knew each other because we would walk the streets, we would see each other, or we go to weddings, we all saw each other. So there's a lot of history that I know about how a lot of the commerce, a lot of business, how it got started. And how it got started, so they didn't have a lot of money, capital to start off. So what they would do, they would borrow each other money with interest and stuff. In Khmer, it's called Tong Tin, and then a lot of that was the early development of all the different Khmer business that's on Anaheim Street and along that corridor.
Right.
And then as time went on, like it was bustling, it was busy. There was Sang Hang Market, and then there was so many grocery stores that people outside of Long Beach, they could come every weekend, and all the noodle shops were full. The Hat Hieng #1, the Hat Hieng #2, there were bands, and it was just a lot of great stuff was going on because it was past the war, and they just wanted to. Long Beach was the place to be, to shop, to dine and to buy things, whether it be jewelry stores. So it really grew and grew.
Yeah.
So that's how I remember my early days in Long Beach to when I was like a teenager. The history of Cambodia town, because I was a young adult. I wasn't participating in community activities or political activities here in District 6. So I found it kind of strange how they never let, there's never a Cambodian council person to really make decisions and stuff on the city level, having a seat at city council for years. So I always questioned it. And then when they redlined it, they divided Cambodia town, I thought, like, why are they doing that? They're segregating us. But because we didn't know a lot of people in law and politics and political, laws. So they divided our city. So that means a lot of the Cambodians couldn't vote. So we're split in half. So I think that's one of the main reasons why we didn't have a council person representing us in the city hall for such a long time. And I think it needs to be revisited, in my opinion, how racism played a big factor in our community development, and that's why you see a lot of business being gone now because of that, because we never had a seat at the table to really make decisions that's to help our community, not just Cambodian American, but Latino Americans, African Americans. I think a lot of people should revisit that part of history to see what happened, so we can make it right, and not make it right, but make it history, make people learn, so you don't make the same mistake in Long Beach. We're not, Long Beach, it's not a perfect city, but we need to go back to make sure that it doesn't happen to other people that are going to make a life for themselves or build this community that's really amazing, and to have it red line and redistrict so we can't have a voice. And that's oppression. That's what we fight so hard for, our parents, our grandparents, so we don't have to face that again. And then when we're here, there's other elements and factors that dictate, that oppress us. So I feel that shouldn't happen ever again to anybody. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much settled, raising a beautiful family, getting married, and participating, as Cambodian Americans in our community, and just getting to know people in the other community, trying to, bring Long Beach together, whether you're in North Long Beach or West Side Long Beach, or you're in Belmont, or you're in Naples and downtown, just to getting to know people and making the city great, and just sharing each other's culture. And for me, just sharing each other's food. I think that's the beauty of Long Beach. We're like a smaller LA, but it's very diverse. And we have a lot to share with the rest of people here in LA County and Southern California and the state and around the world. Yeah, I feel like this is absolutely 100% my community, being resettled here after leaving the Thai-Cambodian border, and being raised here for the last 43 years, and my parents having different businesses and knowing the history of. I feel like I'm a part of it, and this is a reflection of who I am. Like, Cambodia Town is not perfect. Cambodia Town means that there's hardworking people behind the scenes. There's people that will roll up their sleeve and represent the community for all the hard work and the history that's done. And I'm just so blessed that I was able to raise awareness to Cambodian food nationally, with Batamong barbecue, representing the grit, the hard work of not just Cambodian American, but as hardworking Americans that do the blue collar businesses that people are so accustomed to, of just going through a drive-through, going through like a place where it's a well-established, a franchise. And I feel like I represent the small businesses of immigrants, the small business of refugees, and the small business as Long Beach as a whole. We are the ones that kept the people fed, that kept the community going through COVID, because of small businesses like myself and hundreds and thousands of other within Long Beach, within the county, the state, and across the nation. I love that we're able to we don't always necessarily agree, but I think most of the majority of the time we're able to come together to showcase our culture, our contribution as Cambodian Americans to the overall American society and the history. It's been 40, 50 years plus, and that's what I'm most proud about. We might have some differences, but we don't let our differences stop the progression of our people as former refugees. And going forward, there's still a lot to do. It's never done. The work is not done. When the work is done, that's when you get oppressed, you don't have a voice, and that's when you can't lead as a community, because people think the work is done, but the work is never done going forward. That's why we have to keep our history going, for ourselves, and just getting to know other people's history that live with us as neighbors. Yes, I would definitely change the way that we were perceived. I would change the way that we were treated, because I thought it was unfairly, and it happens on and on, no matter what group settles here in America, how we're so ignorant sometimes of people from other country, from other culture, or eating other food, how people don't understand. And I think as American as a whole, we need to really embrace the culture that makes America great, because they're the ones that made America great back in the 1800s to the 2000s. And if we embrace that, we will learn more about each other. We'll learn more what makes us stronger. And most of all, we'll learn, the common things that we have to make us a better country, to understand the dynamics across the whole world
I know,
as
right.
people. What I learned, when I didn't get an education in Khmer or no Charom, the refugee camp. When I came here, I was heavily involved, like being in student council. So in the early days of fourth, fifth grade, I ran for student council, being the president, vice president. So I got to really, bring certain subjects up that my fellow students would agree with. I learned that from an early age, so that stuck by me till now. When I do bring people together, that's because of a very positive reason to celebrate our culture and to celebrate an event, not just Cambodian American, but it could be like for beer, it could be for barbecue. So I learned that as a young age to organize things, to let people like do their job that they're really good at, that you don't need to micromanage. That's what their job, that's what their talents are made for. So that's the reason why I think that I'm very successful from a non community base to just my own base, just respecting your younger generation, what they bring to the table, what they can offer, and all the skill set they've learned to enhance the experience as Cambodian Americans. And they have a very, very large, diverse friends and families nowadays versus my generation. You got people that are mixed with Mexican, Latino, or mixed with African American, mixed with other Asian culture. And I think that's the beauty of it. When you stand up for those things and they see that, and genuinely they will want to participate in these events. So I wouldn't really call myself a leader. I was just making events up and letting people celebrate, the beautiful thing about here, growing up here in Long Beach, or being here in Long Beach through all that. Well, yeah, because there's a lot of history that I've learned as a child, as a young boy in Cambodia. All the teachings of going to the temple by my grandfather, my grandmother, my mom. It's an institution, so temples are an institution. And when we have temples here in Long Beach, it is an institution, but it's more like a religious institution. But in Cambodia, it's a whole institution. That's where you learn. That's where you help out the monks. That's where you help out the nuns. That's where you get your schooling and math. So over here, all those elements aren't really there at all at one time. Like, people really try. You have to give credit to the older generation. It wasn't for them, none of this would be possible. So we really have to thank the elders of building Cambodia Town and the corridor and the businesses. But going forward, we can always make things better. It's never done. Like, when you think you're done, that's where you become complacent. When you become complacent, that's where you lose a lot of your culture, the richness, the history, or someone tries to change it using different type of media to make it perceive like they know, which they don't, because we got to really preserve things nowadays with all these different media, especially social media. Things aren't always what they seem to be, because it's just a couple seconds. But the history is decades and decades of Cambodian American history and other history, and we really need to conserve that. And going forward, and like I said, the institution of our Wat, our temple, should be of an academia, should be of a religious, should cultivate people learning different skill sets. Because when I grew up in Khmer, it was an institution. It wasn't just a temple to pray, dak bat, to bon, an institution. Right. Just like, if you look at a model, like the synagogues, like the Jewish synagogue, it's not just a place to pray and worship. It's a place of academic, a place of a political debate. It's a place to learn. It's a place to keep the history. Yeah, I see a huge opportunity for your young generation learning, all the great things that our elders did for us, for the community. And also, I see a lot of greatness within them because they're so diverse in their industry, such as doctors, nurses, real estate agent, business owner, even some in City Hall that working civil work that enhances them. And I feel they could bring all that together and make our community better because they know where to get funding, they know where to get grants, they know where to start a nonprofit to benefit our community and our society. So I see a lot of improvement that's going to happen in the near future because they're taking upon their self, their experience from the past, and their education and their knowledge, and they're not afraid. I think passing the most important thing that I would like to pass down to my children is my culture, where I came from, and here as Cambodian Americans, I want them, because that's what makes them unique and different. That's what makes not just us, but every one of us that we interact with, and everyone that here in America. We all come from a very unique cultural background, and the experience we have, we could use it to enhance other experience that we intertwine with, such as community events, such as school or academic. Those what makes us different, and we celebrate those things because without those things, we are all the same. If we're all the same, we'll be doing the same stuff, watching the same stuff, eating the same. That would be such a boring world. So going forward, like I want to really, hope that I can pass down my culture, to my children.
Wow, that was good. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks,
for the
man.
interview.
Appreciate it, Don.
And
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you are a community leader of a newer generation.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that. I just smoke barbecue, man.
But what?